April 30th, 1803, the Louisiana Purchase, a monumental land deal. On April 30th, 1803, the United States acquired a vast tract of land known as the Louisiana Territory from France for a mere $15 million. This momentous deal, brokered by President Thomas Jefferson, more than doubled the size of the young nation, opening up vast new territories for settlement, exploration, and economic development. At the time of the purchase, the Louisiana Territory encompassed an area of approximately 827,000 square miles, stretching from the Mississippi River to the Rocky Mountains and from the Gulf of Mexico to Canada. This vast expanse encompassed a diverse landscape of forests, prairies, mountains, and rivers, and it held the potential for immense wealth and power. Jefferson's decision to acquire the Louisiana Territory was driven by a number of factors. He recognized the strategic importance of the land as it would give the United States control over the Mississippi River, a vital waterway for trade and commerce. He also saw the potential for the territory to be settled and developed, which would bring new resources and economic opportunities to the country. The Louisiana Purchase was a controversial deal at the time, with some critics arguing that it was unconstitutional and that the United States was overpaying for the land. However, Jefferson and his supporters believed that the potential benefits of the purchase far outweighed the risks. In the years following the Louisiana Purchase, the United States began to explore and settle the newly acquired territory. The Lewis and Clark expedition, commissioned by Jefferson in 1804, played a crucial role in mapping and documenting the vastness and diversity of the land. 1812. Louisiana's admission to the Union. On April 30th, 1812, the territory of New Orleans became the 18th U.S. state under the name Louisiana. The admission of Louisiana was a significant event in American history as it marked the first time that a state had been admitted to the Union from the Louisiana Purchase. Louisiana was a diverse territory with a population that included French, Spanish, African Americans, and Native Americans. The territory was also home to a thriving economy based on agriculture, shipping, and trade. The admission of the Louisiana was opposed by some in the United States who feared that the state's large slave population would tip the balance of power in favor of the South. However, Congress approved the admission of Louisiana and the state was officially admitted on April 30th, 1812. 1838. Nicaragua's Declaration of Independence. On April 30th, 1838, Nicaragua declared its independence from the Central American Federation. This event marked the end of the Federation, which had been formed in 1823 by 5 Central American countries: Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. The Central American Federation was plagued by political instability from the start. The 5 member states had different interests and cultures, and they were unable to agree on a common government. As a result, the Federation began to break apart in the early 1830s. Nicaragua was one of the first countries to secede from the Federation. The country was led by a group of liberals who wanted to establish a more democratic government. The liberals were successful in overthrowing the conservative government, and they declared Nicaragua's independence on April 30th, 1838. The Declaration of Independence was a significant event in Central American history. It marked the end of the first attempts to unite the Central American countries, and it set the stage for the region's subsequent political instability. 1863. The Battle of Cameroon. On April 30th, 1863, a 65-man French Foreign Legion infantry patrol fought a force of nearly 2,000 Mexican soldiers to nearly the last man in Hacienda, Cameroon, Mexico. The battle, which lasted for over 10 hours, is considered one of the most heroic and defining moments in the history of the French Foreign Legion. The patrol, led by Captain Jean Dingeau, was sent to escort a convoy of supplies to the French forces besieging the Mexican city of Puebla. The convoy was ambushed by a Mexican force led by Colonel Francisco de Paulo Milan, who was determined to prevent the supplies from reaching the French. Dingeau and his men fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned, and by the end of the battle, only 6 of the original 65 men were still alive. The 6 survivors were taken prisoner and executed by the Mexicans. 1871. The Camp Grant Massacre. On April 30th, 1871, a group of American settlers and soldiers attacked a camp of Panal and Avapada Apaches in Arizona Territory. The attack, known as the Camp Grant Massacre, resulted in the deaths of over 100 Apaches, mostly women and children. The attack was led by William Sanders Ory, a prominent Tuscan citizen. Ory had been organizing a vigilante group attack to attack the Apaches, who had been raiding settlements in the area. The group, which consisted of about 148 men, attacked the Apache camp at dawn. The Apaches were caught off guard and were unable to defend themselves. The attackers killed and scalped the Apaches, including women and children, and they also took some Apache children as prisoners. The Camp Grant Massacre was a shocking event that outraged the American public. The attack led to the resignation of General George Stoneman, the commander of the U.S. Army in Arizona Territory. 1897. The discovery of the electron. On April 30th, 1897, British physicist Joseph John Thomson successfully demonstrated the existence of the electron, a subatomic particle with a negative charge. Thomson's discovery was a major breakthrough in physics and laid the foundation for the modern understanding of the atom. Thomson's experiments involved studying the behavior of cathode rays, which are streams of electrons emitted from a cathode, a negatively charged electrode. He found that cathode rays could be deflected by electric and magnetic fields, which suggested that they were composed of charged particles. To determine the charge-to-mass ratio of the electron, Thomson used a device called a cathode ray tube. The cathode ray tube consisted of a vacuum chamber with 2 electrodes, a cathode, and an anode. When a high voltage was applied to the electrodes, cathode rays were emitted from the cathode and traveled towards the anode. Thomson placed a magnetic field between the cathode and the anode. The magnetic field deflected the cathode rays, and Thomson measured the amount of deflection. He then used this measurement to calculate the charge-to-mass ratio of the electron. Thomson's results showed that the charge-to-mass ratio of the electron was very small, suggesting that it was a very light particle. This was consistent with the idea that the electron was a subatomic particle.